So let the bodies hit the roof. So this is apparently Boris Johnson's position on lockdowns now, which is just like everyone can die. No, I don't believe this before we get into it. But
I want to believe it.
I know you want to believe, but... So here, this is the story from the BBC News. COVID, Boris Johnson's bodies pile high comments prompt criticism. Boris Johnson said he would rather see bodies pile high than take the country into a third lockdown. Sources familiar with the conversations have told the BBC.
So these, as they say, were made last autumn.
So they say the remarks were said to have been made last autumn, just as England went into the second lockdown. So before the second lockdown happened, sources say that he said, let the bodies pile high rather than take us into a third lockdown, because of presumably the economic cost lockdowns take. So the PM has strongly denied saying the phrase, describing the reports as, quote, total rubbish.
What?
A government spokesman has said this is untrue and the PM has denied it. I'm not aware of anyone else making that statement. So this was first reported in the Daily Mail, and then the BBC and ITV have said they've got separate and independent sources who also confirm that this happened. So you've got 3 different people presumably giving information. So there's the debate about whether or not he said it, which, I mean, they've got multiple sources, so it's certainly possible.
And it does sound like something he would say.
Jokingly.
Not even jokingly. The way he said it is obviously hyperbolic, but the principle I think underlying it is something that he probably believed, which is we shouldn't be having lockdowns.
I mean, I know you're fully on board with this sentiment. It's a bit crudely put, I would say, but it's the point there, which is, look, how much economic turmoil can you get for how many people dead? I mean, what's the trade-off? Because there is a trade-off. Because economic cost does end up causing deaths as well. Yeah. So it's not as simple as saying, people are dying, therefore we must do X.
And there are other forms of long-term damage that have been done to the country and the people of the country in the pursuit of making sure that 82-year-olds don't die of a communicable disease.
Yeah, so maybe Boris has been reading your Memento Mori post. I don't think so. I'm not a believer that this is true, but I'm looking forward to these sources proving it true. I mean, if they've got a recording, if they've got more people saying it, just come out and say it, because he would be in trouble for that, because then he's lying to the public about what he said.
But let me just make my case very quickly. I think that the very concept of the lockdowns was, invented by Xi Jinping and imposed in China, and then for some reason exported around the world. And I have no idea why. Like, there's no good reason to have done it. There are countries that didn't do it, that have suffered almost exactly the same kinds of curves that we suffered. I don't know if the lockdown even had any effect, because there's plenty of evidence to suggest that actually it just narrowly funneled people into certain places, such as hospitals and supermarkets, which cause a huge amount of transmission through these places. So it's like, okay, how do we know lockdowns were effective? Yep. We don't. And are they immoral? They are. Are they the product of the Chinese Communist Party? They appear to be. So I'm in total agreement with Boris's flippant comment. No, let the bodies pile up before I tyrannize the country.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I hate it.
Take the same comment with regards to, World War II or something. Would you rather let the bodies pile high or have to fight the Nazis?
Or capitulate to the Germans?
Yeah, I think we'll just fight the Nazis.
Yeah,
it'll cost some lives,
there's literally no limit to the number of people who will have to fight the Nazis and may die doing so. I'm sorry.
But the reason I find it hard to believe is because, of course, this is just before he then introduced the second lockdown, and now is insistently saying that no, lockdowns work in his interviews.
No. The thing is, it's totally believable, right? Because it's not. I do think that spiritually, Boris does have this kind of heart of an Englishman sort of thing. However, he has also got a spine made of jelly, and so as soon as Keir Starmer and the press start saying something, he's like, okay, well, just capitulate. It's like, you're not Churchill, are you? You'd like to be Churchill, but you're not, and you understand that Churchill in this position would have just been like, no. Just no, not on my watch, and if the British public don't like it, come the next election, they can yeet me out, but it's just weakness on his part.
Yeah. Anyway, I just don't personally find it true, but we'll see the evidence when they release it, presumably. The other thing he's under attack for is because of his flat. So he apparently spent £200,000, this is the given estimate, to refurbish number 11. So, of course, the Prime Minister's meant to live at number 10, but when Blair moved in, they decided the flat was too small upstairs, so they annexed number 11 to go and live in because the flat's bigger, and therefore they could take their kids. And subsequently, Prime Ministers have taken the bigger flat because, you would, wouldn't you? Like, if you're offered the bigger one, you'd take it. And you're given a £30,000 public grant to refurbish it in your image because you're the new Prime Minister. You might want a new layout or something. And apparently, no, he decided to go for more than that. So they say they estimate about £200,000 was spent on refurbishing it. And then the question comes, where's the under 170,000 coming from? And the Daily Mail reported that Lord Brownlow said in last October that he was making a donation of £58,000 to the Conservative Party, quote, to cover the payments the party has already made on behalf of the soon-to-be-formed Downing Street Trust. Except none of that trust exists, to my knowledge. It never seemed to get formed, so what was he giving that money for? And the accusation seems to be that the Conservative Party gave Boris a loan to refurbish the place, and then the obvious question comes, well, where do you get your money? From donors. So donors give Conservative Party money, Conservative Party gives Boris money. It just looks like legalised bribery, because if the donors got anything in return, then there's big questions to be asked there.
Well, let it never be said that the Conservative Party is above corruption.
Yeah, it's just interesting that both of these attacks come out about the same time. So apparently charitable trusts are sort of a normal thing, so apparently it gets done for checkers for refurbishments, because that's just how these things go, but no one was made for Downing Street. And the other question is whether or not it was given, if this is the case that he took the donation from the Conservative Party, the loan, and then used it, did he make this all clear to the Electoral Commission? Because if not, then he's going to be in trouble. And this is all unique that it all comes out at the same time, I think. I mean, maybe I'm just being conspiratorial, but it's interesting how all attacks on a Prime Minister usually come out within the span of a few months to try and harm them or to get them out. And it seems to come in at exactly the same time as you remember Dominic Cummings responding to this. So if you remember a little while ago, Dominic Cummings, the PM's advisor, left number 10, and in the middle of all this, we did some reporting on it at the time. He went with the communications director, and I don't care about number 10 office politics. That's why I'm probably not the best knowledgeable person on the inside deets on this and the drama, but why would you have to care? So apparently there was some debate between what's called the Brexit boys, so Cummings and his gang, and Boris's girlfriend. Yeah, embarrassing.
And you can see the results of it as Dominic Cummings is carrying his things out of the office.
Yeah, he put this up at the time, was like, right, I was planning on leaving anyway, blah, blah, blah. But he also went with his communications director, and then the chief of staff and the communications director were people that Boris's girlfriend liked. So looked like she won that. Which,
you can imagine the conversation. It's like, no, Dominic, I really like you and everything, but you don't have a WAP.
Yeah, this is an embarrassing thing that's been going on. A lot of people got questions about how much influence she has over Boris Johnson and the running of the government, because who elected her? Nobody. Like, if she proposes policies or decides things, why? Like, she's not even his wife, she's a girlfriend.
WAP.
Anyway, so Dominic Cummings decided to release, in response to all these accusations about Boris Johnson seeming to claim that he was the source of all these leaks about his refurbishment and his claims about saying let the bodies pile high, decided to write a big long blog post on his blog, which was interesting. So he in here talks about the leak about lockdown. So you remember before the second lockdown was announced, there was a leak in which they were announcing it was going to happen before they were meant to release it. And Cummings in here claims that Boris knows it wasn't Cummings who leaked it. And he knows that this guy, Henry Newman, is the guy who leaked it instead. And Boris knows this, and the guy investigating it, the cabinet secretary.
Like Kathy Newman's husband or something?
No, it's just some friend of Boris's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just some guy who they made an advisor because he's friends with Boris's girlfriend. Yeah, it looks weird. So he says in here, in which they found out that Dominic Cummings wasn't the one who leaked it and was likely this guy. He says in the blog post, the PM was very upset about this. He said to me afterwards, quote, if Newman is confirmed as the leaker, then I will have to fire him. And this may cause me very serious problems with Carrie, girlfriend, as they're best friends. Perhaps we could get the cabinet secretary to stop the leak inquiry. That's bad. That's very bad.
Yeah, that is.
That's a breach of ministerial code as well, so that's why it matters significantly. So in response, Cummings apparently told him, I told him that this was, quote, mad and totally unethical, and that he had ordered the inquiry himself and authorized the cabinet secretary to use more invasive methods than are usually applied to leak inquiries because of the seriousness of the leak, the fact that the lockdown affected millions of people. I told him that he could not possibly cancel an inquiry about a leak that affected millions of people just because it might implicate his girlfriend's friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Seems a solid thing to say, Dominic Cummings. I can't fault you on that. And it's pretty disgusting if Boris really is that... What do you even call it? Whipped?
Incestuous?
Like held to account by his girlfriend instead of ethics or the rule of law and things.
But the thing is, I guess I'm a bit more cynical because this is just exactly what I'd expect. Like the politicians, I need something done. Well, my girlfriend's brother has a construction company, so I'll get him to do the thing. And so it's all politics is basically this kind of incestuous relationships. So
yeah, it is all relationships, and it's hard to combat. Sure, but it doesn't mean it's any less gross.
Oh no, it's gross, and
it's doubly embarrassing because you don't see this kind of stuff usually from other leaders. Like you never hear about other leaders' girlfriends or wives controlling them to this extent that you keep to get news out of number 10. I mean, maybe it's all false, but I mean, so many people keep saying that she's in charge of this, in charge of that, and it seems to show. Because
honestly, right, I would suspect that practically everything that we're hearing is probably true. Like all of this is probably true.
So I've got a little reason to doubt Dominic Cummings' side of the story here. So he continues that Dominic was accused by the director of communications about being the leaker about the flat story. So the fact that he had refurbished his flat. And he says in response, "The PM stopped speaking to me about this matter in 2020. As I told him, I thought his plans to have donors secretly pay for the renovation were unethical, foolish, possibly illegal, and almost certainly broke the rules on proper disclosure of political donations. If conducted in the way he wanted to, indeed. I refused to help him organise these payments." So, I mean, Dominic Cummings shot across the bow there. You asked me to set up probably an illegal situation in which you were taking donors' money to
at the very least an unethical situation.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, it might be illegal as well. He's correct about that.
Yeah.
So, and then saying, yeah, you did this, I said no, and then you may have carried on with this, and I'm not the one leaking that. Someone else has leaked that, and that's your problem, buddy. I don't work in number 10 anymore. I mean, it's not looking good for Boris Johnson there.
Nice bridge burned there by Dominic, though.
Yeah, I suppose if he's being accused of such things, I mean, you would burn that bridge. I mean, why would you stick around? I mean, if you're being a trass like that.
Well, yeah, yes.
So that's basically it. It's not too much of a thing, but I wanted to talk about it because it's the big news in the UK at the moment, because a lot of people are trying to go after Boris on these issues. I don't really care that much. Like, if he's done something improper, sure, he'll be taken out on the ministerial code. He'll have some sanction put against him. If he's broken the rules on electoral commission, yeah, he'll be taking sanctions on him that way. But it's not really a huge issue for me. What's embarrassing is more just the girlfriend part. The fact that the girlfriend seems to be controlling his every move, or at least his communications director, his chief of staff, and also some policy. I mean, some of the things that keep coming out, people weren't expecting from him. I mean, Brexit, good, but Brexit is done. Yeah. You've got that done. What's next?
Fix the country. Fix the goddamn country. You've got everything. We keep saying this, but it's just because it doesn't stop being true. Just fix the damn country. You've got everything laid out at your feet. I mean, like, apologise to Dominic Cummings, bring him back and be like, Dominic, what do I need to do to fix the country? And he'll say, do this, 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 and this. And I bet I would co-sign every single suggestion and just do it. And when the press complain, just tell them, too bad, not listening. When the media, when the Labour Party complains, say, shut up, Keir Starmer. Go back to fending off the Corbynites. Just, like, look at your polling, blah blah blah. Just make things better. You've got all of the options now. You really do. And I'm so frustrated with the Conservatives. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.